There are clearly good movies and clearly bad movies, but sometimes we like to travel a really far distance to stay in an Airbnb that is so nice we are willing to die in it just to find out what is everything in the middle. This is Good Bad, Bad Good.
Carly! Tell me that's not a camera.
No fucking way. Just came to say we'll be outside. I won't say anymore. You had nothing to do with this.
I'm already guilty.
Hey everyone out there, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode where we will be discussing the 2022...
No, it's 2020.
2020 film The Rental,
Yeah.
written and directed by Dave Franco.
AKA Baby Franco.
Yes.
Yep, aka Baby Franco. I am Travis Orozco, and I am a director and producer. With me, as always, is...
Kailana Mai, and I'm a writer and actor.
And also...
Brian Ossip. I am a video editor and all-around swell guy.
How are we doing today?
I loved that answer. I loved that answer so much.
I like how nobody actually was like, yeah, that's true. You're all just like,
Anyway.
All right. I think you're just peachy keen, Brian.
aw, thanks. I'll take that.
Yeah, I'm doing great today, you know? The sun is shining, the
You
birds
know?
are chirping. I'm not getting killed in a rental somewhere, so I'm pretty good.
Yeah, that's true. I'm talking movies with my two friends. How bad could life be?
We are friends now.
I like how you guys just turned and nodded at each other
No.
and didn't say anything. It's a podcast forum.
Right.
you have to
I also
speak.
clocked that. I was like, we're both nodding.
Yeah.
They don't know that.
Yeah.
Fun fact, Kai and I were recently at a hangout with like a bunch of our apartment people. And Kai started to do promotion for our podcast.
Hell yeah.
And she was like, yeah, and Travis's friend in Texas is the other guy. And then she's like, oh, well, I guess Brian's my friend now too.
We can be friends.
We can be friends.
We have been
Okay.
doing this for over a year now.
That's so
That's true.
crazy to me. I was telling somebody that I was recording a podcast episode tonight, and they were like, "Oh yeah, is that out already?" And I was like, "Absolutely not. We got some time."
I've had so many people pull out their phone and be like, I'll subscribe right now. Where is it? And I'm like, it's not there.
It's not there.
It's not there yet.
But by the time you sweet people out there are hearing it, it will be there.
Yes.
It is in the now.
Yes. And
Now.
thank you so much for telling everyone about it and tweeting about it and all the love that we get from you all.
Yeah.
This clearly can't be our first episode.
Nope.
It's like all the love that we get from you all. You look at our page, it's 0 followers, 0 listens.
Our Instagram is just us responding to like the posts. Okay, so today's movie is The Rental. Before we jump into the different categories that we'll be covering today, let's give you all a plot synopsis. Hey Google, what's the plot synopsis of The Rental?
Here's the synopsis of The Rental. Two couples on an oceanside getaway grow suspicious that the host of their seemingly perfect rental house may be spying on them. Before long, what should have been a celebratory weekend trip turns into something far more sinister.
There you have it. That is everything that happens in the movie The Rental. Maybe a few more things, but that's pretty much the gist of it. Before diving into the first category of plot, let's hear the verdicts. Brian?
I'm gonna go first.
Oh, Kai.
No,
Kai.
ladies first.
Nope, Kai.
Kai, go.
Okay, I think this I was excited to go first because it's rare that this is my verdict, but I think it's a bad good movie.
Interesting. Brian?
Ditto. I concur.
And I agree.
Yeah.
Oh.
I knew that. I was like, I'm finally
this doesn't
gonna agree with
surprise me.
Travis on something. No, me
Yeah.
Yeah. While I was watching it, I felt so much like Brian because I'm like, I keep going back and forth. I'm like, I think this might be a good bad movie. And then I'm like, no, it's a bad good movie. No, I think this might be a good bad movie.
It's funny because this is the first movie we watched in a while where I was pretty set on my answer from the beginning. Like I didn't waver at all on this one. This is a bad good movie from the jump.
This movie was a great movie to me for a long time, not because of the actual movie, but because I saw this movie during the pandemic in 2020 at a drive-in movie theater out
I didn't know you'd seen this before.
Yeah, I'd seen it once before, but I saw it at the drive-in and I was like super pumped that I could just get out of my house. And so I was like, this is
That's
a
fair.
great movie. They're all great movies because it's funny. I was out of my house in my car. I was still just like
Yeah.
sitting in my car and I was still just sitting like I was doing most of the pandemic, but I was still super stoked.
But you were outside of your four walls that you had spent most of your time
Yeah,
in.
so I wasn't really thinking about. I was very entertaining. I will say that I was entertained.
That's fair. I don't know that I can agree with that statement from my watch, but we'll get into it.
Yes, we will.
So let's talk about the plot and the story structure. How do we feel about it? What happens? How many acts are in this movie? Huh?
Huh? Great question.
This movie,
You were making all sorts of noises
Yeah.
over there.
this movie pissed me off, if I'm being honest, because it felt like it had a lot of potential. And then it felt like, even though I will say that I don't think this is a very unique story or anything like that. Like, I feel like this type of movie has been done before, but like, I feel like it still had potential. But then it felt, I don't know if Dave Franco's ever written a movie before. It felt like his first time writing a movie because it felt a little unfocused, I guess is the word I would use. I felt like this movie couldn't decide whether it was a psychological thriller, a slasher film. There were like so many different things going on story-wise that it felt, I don't know what the word is, but it just didn't feel cohesive to me. And that bothered me.
I totally get that. And I want to point out, since you mentioned Dave Franco being one of the writers, he also co-wrote this with Joe Swanberg, who is known for mumblecore. So he just really writes, loose scripts, a strong story, but loose scripts. And then there's improv with most of his actors, right? So like, he's done a lot of stuff. There was a show that I absolutely loved that I can't think of the name of now, that's set
Girls?
it's set in Chicago. It's 3 seasons. Easy. With it's Joe Swanberg's show and Dave Franco is in it. I don't know if that's how they like first connected, but it's 3 seasons. Dave Franco's in it all 3 seasons, and it's a great show, and it's mumblecore, and that's like what Joe Swanberg is known for. So I don't know how detailed his scripts usually are. And I don't know how much of this script actually has improv in it because of that, or if Dave Franco took it and they actually wrote a full-on script. There's also the story is by Mike Dusky, and his IMDb is very, very limited. And so it makes me wonder if this was, Dave Franco and Joe Swanberg like picked this up from some production house and went, we want to turn this into something else.
It's interesting you mentioned that the one writer is known for like improv scripts or stories or whatever. That because like the cast, I had never seen the actress that played Mina. I don't think I'd ever seen her in anything before, but the other 3 main cast, at least, they're not the type of people that I think of improving. Maybe Alison Brie, I guess I could see that a little bit, but the others, but like that's interesting to have that group of people in a potential setting where there was improv
Right.
like that.
And I'm not sure
No, I know.
if
Yeah, I'm
that
just
is
saying.
what they
That
were
was their
doing,
approach.
but also the actress that played Mina, I looked her up as well because I thought she was fantastic and I hadn't seen her in anything. She's in a lot of stuff. It's just not stuff I had ever seen.
Same.
She is in one of the best horror films that I have seen in the past like decade. She was in A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night.
Yes.
And it's what?
No, I just remember you telling me to watch that and I still haven't seen it. So now I'm
I know.
clocking it in my memory as like, I need to
No,
watch this
it's
movie.
an Iranian horror film about
Right. Vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like it's so great that it flips the like horror trope of like the girl being like afraid and like hunting, and like now she's the hunter, and like the men that are
you
walking
spoiling
around.
things for us, sir?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
great.
that's literally the plot. Like she's a vampire.
Right. Got it.
That
Her name's,
skateboards.
we keep saying she, by the way. I just want to credit her. Her name is Sheila Vand. But we'll get more into that in the acting section.
Yeah.
So also plot and story. I understand totally what you're saying, Brian. And I felt like the first, I would say, I think it was like minute 49 that I clocked that I was like, okay, now they're losing me. Whereas like at the first 49.
Minute 49?
No, 49. Did I say a minute?
No, you said at minute
minute
49.
I was
Yeah.
like, damn,
Into the movie. They lost me. No,
I was like,
would
the
not.
first
They're just doing the
45
opening
seconds was a
credits and
montage
Mario.
of like landscape.
Yeah.
I loved that montage after that. Blah.
Yeah.
Just totally lost me. Which
Yeah.
I kind of, I mean, I don't know. With her resting on him, I was just like, oh my gosh, you're revealing so much already.
They were.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I
Yes.
loved that or if I hated that.
I hated it. Because I'm like, you're already showing so much.
But
Yeah.
I also
Well,
do love
Sorry, go ahead.
when people get to the information in the first 10 pages of a script.
Yeah.
Because so often you watch films, and especially films that we do on this podcast, where they don't tell us like pertinent information until page 40 of the script that has like a lot to do with the plot. And then I'm like, what the actual F by the time we get to the end of it? And I'm pissed that they didn't tell us that in the beginning.
should we get into a little more of like the specific plot details?
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah.
So what you were talking about was that first scene where Mina
I was
is
just about to
resting
say.
on
No,
whatever
but
the
I
other
was,
guy's
I
name
was
is.
right, and I had started talking about how 50 minutes into the movie, basically minute 49, I was they lost me, and it was to your point, Brian, that you made of like, what does this film want to be? Because I felt like for the beginning of it, this is like a more it's a true thriller, right? Like where it's suspenseful. That's the word I would use. This is a suspense movie, and it's a true thriller. And then about 50 minutes in, it turns into a slasher flick, and the tone drops. I didn't feel like it was so totally different that they completely lost me. I definitely felt the shift and didn't know if I loved it or not.
Yeah, my problem wasn't as much that it kind of shifted from like the psychological thriller to a slasher movie as much as it came out of nowhere and it wasn't really explained very well. It didn't make any sense. I mean, I'm just going to jump to like the end where all of a sudden, so like the whole thing they set up that maybe it's the guy, the landlord or whatever he is, like the owner's brother that's kind of watching over the house. But they're setting up that maybe
Yeah, let's set that up. So like the movie starts with us these
With the 4 people wanting to get away. It's 2 brothers and their significant others each. One brother is actually a business partner with the other brother's significant other.
right. They clearly have a close relationship.
Yeah, close friendship.
Then throughout the first chunk of the movie, we get that that there's something underneath their relationship, and then that ends up coming out. We also understand that the guy who rented them the Airbnb is possibly racist, doesn't like there's a whole thing there which we can get into,
Yeah.
but is possibly
Yeah.
racist, doesn't
I have
maybe
notes about
like
that.
Yeah, same.
the character that actress we were talking about, Sheila Van's character earlier, and then we sort of, so we go on this whole ride with them thinking that all these things that are happening, like the dog going missing, et cetera, are possibly this creepy guy that owns the house. There's cameras in the shower. They find out all these different things. And then the movie switches at some point, and we realize after that man gets killed that there's actually a third-party killer out there.
Yes.
Third-party killer? Second-party killer.
It
I
would be
guess he's
third party.
third party.
Third
The
party.
second party would be the landlord, so the third
landlord.
party would be the killer.
But,
Yeah.
Right, but when I said killer, like we obviously knew the first party
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
the killers, so
A third party person was the killer.
was the killer. You understood what I
Yeah.
meant. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's kind of setting it up to then what were you going to say?
That the guy who ends up being the killer, like they kind of lead you to believe it's this landlord all along. And then clearly it's not him, but then it's just sort of this no-named, faceless guy that has nothing to do with anything other than a post-credit scene where they show that he's like a serial killer, I guess, in the way. Well, I was going to say like a serial putting cameras into random houses and then killing people. Like they show that this is what this guy does, but it just comes out of nowhere. Like he has no connection to the house. He has no connection to the landlord. He has no connection to seemingly any of it. He just comes literally out of nowhere and is just, I guess, doing this for sport, which
Right.
I'm not saying that's implausible, but it just, they don't give any sort of context to who or why this guy is doing this.
So there's the question of like, why do we care?
So I
Yeah.
actually loved the ending, and like that's why I was going back and forth throughout the entirety of the film, and it was the ending that made me be like, oh, this is a bad good movie, because like this ending could actually, like, I love a film that like doesn't wrap everything up for you and like doesn't present everything with a nice bow and like leaves you with a few questions that you're left to either figure out on your own or like, yeah. But the thing that I hated about like how they ended up making this killer was that like throughout the film, all the murders, and this kind of goes into what you've said before, Brian, about like gore and whatnot, they weren't like gory enough, like the murders, or they weren't like, it didn't feel like it was someone who was like enjoying this and like doing it. Like it was like really
Yeah,
quick, like
that's
dop,
true.
dop, and then the person's dead, and then like on to the next one. And like, I guess you could get a thrill out of that, like quick
Yeah,
kill, but it didn't
that's
feel like
true.
it, like the way in which this killer was operating throughout the film didn't feel like it was someone that was just doing it to enjoy it.
Well,
It felt robotic.
Right, because and that's where I think it's the script fault, because I agree with you, Travis. I actually usually dislike things that wrap the endings up into
Yeah.
little bows, because I think I have this part of me that's like, people suck and the world sucks. So like I have some, not that, you know, I'm totally pessimistic. I'm not. I'm quite an optimistic person, but maybe that's why I like the films where it's like there's more of a reality to like, no, Hollywood endings don't always last, and especially in the thriller, suspense, horror genres, like leave me wanting more, right? But I think it's a problem with the script where, while they were writing this, they had the ability to just go, oh, it doesn't matter what this guy's agenda is, the killer's agenda is, or what his basis is for doing this. It doesn't matter because we're not going to show it anyways. But then it left me caring less. So it's like what Brian said, and you were making that same point of like, I would have loved to see little indications that maybe this guy is a psychopath. Yes, that he's enjoying this, or even because I love how it ends and we realize that he's doing this to multiple different places. But the second place that he goes and sets up these cameras at the end looks like a city apartment, right? It could be in the middle of San Francisco. It could be, and then that to me made, I didn't enjoy that, because my going along with the fact that this guy is this random killer, I was thinking, oh, but he's very strategic and he plants these cameras and he picks out the house that's out in the middle of fucking nowhere because he knows he can get away with it there. He can do it there. So I'm like going on that ride, and then the next place is in the middle of the city, which makes it totally random, right? So, and I didn't like the total randomness of that.
I kind of disagree with you on that, because like we see him attack in the middle of the night. Like we see him attack that woman in the apartment in the middle of the night.
Yeah, but that looked like a loft in a downtown area.
No, I know,
which,
but
like,
people are murdered in cities,
Oh,
in apartments
of
all
course.
the time.
No, of
Like,
course. But it's harder to get away if there's not any sort
Sure.
of calculation.
Sure, but he's very strategic.
But there wasn't.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
He's not, though, in the sense that like it was messy. at the house. All the killings, all the anything, like they could have gotten away a million different ways. He just happened to like catch them every time. So it was messy killings.
And one happened to run off the cliff.
Right. And one exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm going, if you're going to do this in the middle of a
Okay,
fucking
so then maybe
city
that's why he
apartment-
went into the city, because he's not smart. Like,
So then we're working with a dumb killer.
yeah.
start
Yeah, which makes me still not care.
Right, because that makes me care less about the actual humans that got killed, because I'm like, you're dumb enough to get killed by a dumb killer.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, all these people were really dumb, and maybe we could go into that and how they characterize them in the script. But every single person in this film just infuriated me. Like every single one. The only one that I cared about was Dave Franco's wife, Alison Brie. And I really wish that she like literally just drove off and then she was like fine and like.
So that is a question I have for both of you, because I was thinking about that. And again, I've brought this up before, but like, what is the point of the movie? What are they trying to say? And if Alison Brie had driven off and like gotten away, then I would have believed that the point of the movie is that if you're not a fucker, then
If you're not a shithead,
excuse the French, if you're not a shithead, you will live. But which is the basis for like a lot of horror movies, right?
Yeah.
But they all die. So is it that we should be less trusting? We should never rent an Airbnb.
I don't think the film knows.
Right.
Yeah, I would
Really,
agree with that.
I don't think this script knows what it was truly trying to say.
Right.
Agreed.
And the best horror movies are the ones that are really saying something.
Because like the message in the end was essentially like, check your Airbnb.
Right. Right.
Like that's the
Yeah,
message
that's
that
kind
I
of the
took
only
away.
message I got out of it was like, look at the shower heads
Yeah.
and see if there's cameras
Yeah.
in the house.
Make sure
Yeah.
you bring a wrench, not a wrench. Make sure you bring a screwdriver.
Yeah.
It wasn't coming to me.
Well,
that
no,
you
it
can
was a
take
twist
all
off
the-
with his hand.
No, yeah, it was a
No,
twist
but,
off
but
head.
he's like, but the like the light switches and
Okay.
stuff. There were mics and all of those.
Yeah. Okay, so I feel like we do need to tell the audience that has not seen this film that we're about to. I mean, that we clearly have spoiled everything. But the main motivation for why, or like the main motivation that the script tries to give these characters for being so stupid, is that the one brother, the more successful brother, ends up sleeping with his business partner, who's the other brother's partner. And then they find out that it was caught on tape. So that is the main reason why they choose to want to hang around and get murdered, because
I
See,
wrote that down too. Of like,
that was-
absolutely not.
That whole thing about the affair didn't even feel necessary for the plot, I don't think, because they easily, yes
they
and no,
used
I
it
guess.
as a necessary for the
I think
plot,
it is
but it was a bad
necessary
excuse.
because that's the one thing, albeit it's a really crappy, in my opinion, one thing, but it's the one thing that's keeping them in the house.
It's the turning
I guess
point,
that's true. Yeah.
but it's
okay.
a dumb one.
It's really
But
stupid.
also, like, in theory, you could have set it up that they didn't discover the cameras at all and they still get killed. You know, it's not like they needed to discover the cameras. They could have stayed in the house another night without
but
seeing the cameras.
But then you're taking away like your protagonist's right to make a choice, right? So the camera and the moment where they decide we're not going to tell them and we're going to stay in the house is the no turning back moment. And we have those in all scripts, no matter what the story is. This is a moment where your protagonist is making a choice and we're going to ride on the path to the end with them on that choice. And this choice is either going to end with something good, or this choice is going to end with something real bad. And in this case, it's real bad, right? Because they make the choice, the dumb choice to do this thing. So you do have to have a moment like that
That's fair.
in every movie, but this just wasn't. It wasn't
a strong enough
Strong
fit,
enough.
yeah,
No,
like-
the stakes there were not strong enough to me, because the stronger stakes were you're being watched.
Yeah.
And also that they have the conversation about this in the house. They don't exit the house. And I'm
Yeah.
going, you don't know if that's the only camera. You
Yep.
also don't know if there are
I had
not
that thought, too.
microphones everywhere. Like, what the fuck? You have no idea. Wouldn't you run the fuck out of the house? I feel like I'm swearing so much on this podcast, but it was in, especially horror movies. I'm like, I can't, it's those stupid moments where people do the stupid things. And I'm just like, what? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
because it serves.
Well, that's like
the-
I don't know if you guys know.
story.
There's a commercial. I think it's like an insurance commercial or something, but it's like a horror movie spoof where they're like going to hide in the garage, and the guy's like, "Why don't we just get in the running car?" And they're like, "What are you, an idiot?" And that's like the horror
Why
movie
don't we
trope.
hide
is you always-
behind all the chainsaws?
Yeah,
And then they,
exactly.
go with it.
And that's like the horror movie trope where it's like you always, why do you run up the stairs when you could run out the door?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know if it's important at all that they were on drugs when they slept together. They were on Molly. We didn't mention that. I don't know if it's really important, but just
I mean, it's
and
not.
in the
No,
in the
it's really
script
not.
they were trying to set up that this guy has a pattern, because we also learned that it was the ecstasy night when Allison Brie and him got together, and then they're on ecstasy again, so he makes these poor choices when he does ecstasy, apparently.
But that was
But
also
that
kind of
was-
irrelevant to the
and
overall.
totally hit over the head. Like, we get it, this is his pattern.
So
You don't
many
have
things
to
in this
now
movie
have the
were hit over the head.
conversation in the woods about it as
A
well.
lot of things in this movie were hit over the head.
Speaking of being hit over the head, can we talk about the racism aspect
Yes.
of this
Wait,
film?
can I-
So to
Holy
go
shit.
for it.
No, I was just going to say the very first note that I wrote down at all was love that the white people have the convo about the discrimination around Mina without asking her how she feels about it. Oh,
Oh.
white people. That's what I wrote.
The first note that I wrote, because I didn't realize who the actress was, and Mina actually looked white to
Well,
me.
looks white. Yeah, totally.
She looks really white.
Right, I agree.
Especially like on his shoulder. I'm like, oh, there's two white people looking at a computer. My first note was quote, fuck that diversity, end quote, Dave Franco. Because like the whole cast is all white.
Yeah,
And like I looked at the cast list, and then I saw like before the movie, like when I wrote that note down, and I'm like, oh, there's one person of color, and it's the apartment person at the end that shows the killer the Airbnb. It's a
Oh,
black
right.
woman
Yes.
with no
like the
line.
realtor
Right,
or whatever.
right.
Yeah.
No, she
But
has
this
a
was
line,
also
but you
before
can
I
barely
realized
hear
that
it.
Mina was Middle Eastern, and I just thought she was white.
Yeah.
So my bad. Apologies to the actress.
I like that you said the comment knowing that you were going to apologize for
Well,
it.
yeah, but like it's a very weird decision to get someone who is almost white passing, or like
Yeah.
clearly the viewer, like, I mean, I literally thought she was white until I did not know that until they brought that conversation
I
up.
wonder if that was part of the reason that they used her, because then it goes to show that like the only reason this guy was because of the name, right? Her name is clearly Middle Eastern. So like in any other circumstance, she could maybe pass as white. But in this circumstance, it was maybe clear racism because it was the name, which is clearly Middle Eastern.
The whole problem I have with it though is that they build in these like doubtful safeguards of like, oh well, she doesn't have as many reviews as like me, and my profile has more reviews, and like I have higher
That's
star
what I
ratings,
mean.
and I'm like, those are all legitimate things.
Yeah.
Like what if you're really trying to say something, flip it. Like she has the more profound profile on Airbnb, and they still went with the like white dude who
I
looks
think
like he
that's
made more
part
money.
of the
But they
problem.
did that so that we weren't sure, right? We don't know. Is this a good guy or is
But
this
that-
a bad
But
guy?
that's what I'm saying. That's what waters down your message. of,
Totally.
like,
Well, and none of it really ended up being relevant either. I don't think. Like you mentioned, oh, I just lost my train of thought. Fuck.
I get where you
So-
were maybe going with that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not relevant. In the
so-
end, they could have used literally anything.
Yeah,
it's
and
not
you were
relevant
saying at
because the
end-
reason she confronts him in the end is because of the cameras. It has nothing to do with like,
Yeah,
oh,
exactly. It
you're
has
racist.
nothing to do
Totally.
with the race. Like they set up that they don't particularly like this guy, and maybe that's why they're a little bit less trustful of him. But no matter what, if they had found cameras in the house, they would have been, you know, distrustful of him anyway. And it's sort of like what you said, Travis, before. Like you're not sure that the writers know what kind of a message they were trying to get across. Like the whole thing with race to me felt so unbelievably forced. that it was like they were trying to put a moral into the story without there being a reason or a need for one. Like it was pretty irrelevant to the rest of the story.
Yeah.
It just like it was there in the first what was it 15, 20 minutes of the movie or whatever it is until they first get there and she confronts him about it. And like I think the guy was probably racist. Like that was my gut feeling is that he probably is.
I'm almost there with you, Brian, but I feel like this commentary, they just like shoot in the kneecap every single time that they get a chance. When they first get there, she's super aggressive from the beginning and she's like, "Oh, do you own this house?" And then he's like taken aback and I'm like, I would be kind of offended too if someone like regardless of race, if someone came at me and was like, "Do you own this house?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." Like what? Like, yeah, you're paying to stay in this nice house that I own.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Like she was the aggressor, and like that then took away of like it justifies how he then acts because he's probably offended and like feels like she's being rude to him, and it's like
agreed.
In his mind, he's like, I haven't done anything yet to like.
Well, I think they were trying to play on that. That's why they did it that way, right? I totally get what you're saying, that it waters it down, but I think they're trying to play on that so that the audience can go, well, is he? Or was because she was aggressive? Or is he? Or is he? They set up like 5 different moments in the first 20 minutes of the film where that happens. But I did like that she was the only person that kept making, smart comments about things. Like when he drops the telescope off after they've been on the walk on the beach and she's the only one that's like, you guys don't think that's weird that he just came into the house and like brought it in?
Do you two think that's weird?
I thought it was odd. I could also understand being like, okay, well, we asked him to. Yeah. So both ways, but like, I don't know. If I have been an Airbnb host before, and I would 100% make sure they were there, let them know I'm coming right over. I have the telescope. If you're not there, I'll leave it. Like, you've paid for a home. It's now your space. I don't know. It's weird. It's like it's like the management at a hotel room just walking into your hotel room. They would knock on the door first.
Well, yeah, but then like
unless you already had
the maids would still come in.
Yeah, unless you had the conversation before of like, so, and I think this also might be a.
But you can be in a hotel and you can call room service for a toothbrush. They're going to come up to deliver your toothbrush and they're going to knock on the door. And if they don't get a knock, they leave the toothbrush in front of the door. Or they don't get an answer.
I've only ever stayed at Super 8s, and they just come in and they give you the toothbrush and tell you that you have to turn it back in at the end of the night. Okay, so
to me, that entire scene felt again so forced. Like I had the thought.
Are you referring to? Sorry, just to clarify, what scene you're talking about? Are you referring to when they first get there? Or okay, so when the telescope has been dropped off.
When they get back and the telescope is there. In my head, and I think I even might have wrote this down, I was like, why is she making such a big deal about this? The guy literally said he was going to bring the telescope back. Like, for all we know, he knocked, he rang the doorbell, nobody answered, so he assumed they were out for a walk on the beach or something, brought it in and left. Like, that to me, like, I rented an Airbnb in Fort Lauderdale for my bachelor party a couple months ago. We had an issue with the grill. Contacted the Airbnb owner, and granted the grill was outside in the backyard, but the guy came in at like 8 o'clock the next morning, fixed the grill and left. And that it was not exactly the same because it was outside in the backyard versus inside, but like to me totally that's normal.
That. I was sort of playing devil's advocate, but I totally get that. And also it's an expensive telescope, so you may not want to leave it outside.
But I also don't want to ignore the like gender, like the way in which genders might be looking at this. For case in point, like the woman in the film and also you, Kai, are like, that's not cool. And then the men in the film and Brian and I are like, no, it's like completely fine.
Alison Brie, though, had no problem with it either.
Also, so Amanda and I were in Puerto Rico last month and we needed more towels and we were in an Airbnb and we asked them for more towels and they came in and dropped the towels off when we were out at the beach. They didn't like, set it in the bathroom or anything. They like opened the door and like set it on like the counter near the near the thing or whatever. And Amanda was like, are we okay with the fact that they just came in and like dropped the towels off? And I'm like, well, yeah, we like asked them for towels. So like, I've literally been in that situation as well where I'm like, well,
maybe there is something to do with it there. It's just the I guess it's the woman fearing that there is someone, a man, having keys to a home that you are staying in, that can come and go anytime they wanted to.
I think my own personal perspective on it though is also like, I never think we have 100% privacy in any place where we're paying to stay or whatever. Hotel, Airbnb, I mean, call me like cynical.
That's why I walk around butt ass naked in every Airbnb I stay at.
I hide all my valuable stuff in any Airbnb that I stay in if we're leaving. Like, that's just me, because I'm like, someone else has keys to this place and can come in at any time. And Amanda thinks I'm weird, but I'm like, no, I'm gonna hide my laptop. I don't care.
So, question: are you now going to check every shower head?
Well, we actually have
We actually have a camera in our apartment shower head, to tell you the truth. Wait, what?
No, we have friends that stayed in an Airbnb. We have friends that stayed in an Airbnb and they found a camera in their Airbnb, and it was in Thailand. It wasn't in America. Not that makes that any better or anything like that, but they like found it. I don't know if it was in the bathroom, but they like found one and they're like, we're just gonna leave. We're not gonna see if there's extra ones. We're just gonna leave.
Yeah.
Is California a two-party consent state? Because in theory, it might not be illegal for them to have cameras. It's grimy and it's fucked up. But if it's a one-party consent,
I think California's a two-party. I know New York is a one-party, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
That's what I'm here for,
and
you
also
guys.
if it's like cameras that are like, it's the security on the house or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that's different than an infrared camera on your shower
head. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Which can we talk about? No, that's production design, like the design of the cameras. But
I have some more notes. There were things, we've been like ripping this script apart, but there were some lovely moments that I really enjoyed in this script. I just wrote down, I love the little moments in this script, like Josh typing 666 into the door downstairs when it's first discovered. I thought that was cute. Like, and then he's like, wouldn't it be creepy if that worked?
Funny.
Like, there's fun things
funny.
like that I enjoyed.
I think I was more annoyed that he was so stupid to actually try a passcode.
You wouldn't do that? I would have done it.
Because
just to push buttons. I would have done that.
I did the math. So in order to find out how many possibilities would be in the passcode, you would have to do a factorial of 10. I actually did the math, and there's 3,628,800 possibilities for that keypad.
Okay, so at the end, then I agree with what you're saying. When they're trying to get in there, just fucking knock down the door like you ended up doing in the first place. But in this cute little moment, to just type in 666,
I thought that was
funny.
Okay,
wait.
The other thing with that though, and this is still plot, is that another creepy thing for you too? Like the door underneath the like I didn't understand why they were making a big deal about every single little thing, and I'm like, have they never stayed in a place before?
Yes, even Airbnbs all the time have locked closets or whatever, right?
Yep.
Because that's where they put the things that they don't want humans that they don't know to touch.
My first instinct is not like, oh, someone's down here. It's usually like, oh, that's where they keep the lawnmower, or like that's where they keep the like.
Right. Again, when I was Airbnb-ing, it's like we were Airbnb, we were renting. I'm just gonna say that we were renting our place out when we'd go like on vacations and stuff, because we had an apartment in LA and near downtown. People want that, so we'd go on vacation, rent our place out, and we'd store like I'm only packing a suitcase, right? So like my underwear, things like that. We had a locked closet that we put everything in, because like it's creepy otherwise.
Totally makes sense. For me, I was more offended by the fact that the listing said no pets, and he still brought his dog. Cute dog.
Actually,
shouldn't have fucking brought him.
Super cute dog.
Yeah.
Reggie.
Yeah.
Cute dog. And I'm glad Reggie at least survived. Also, I'm sorry that you're just seeing my cat's butthole right now. Ivy, have some modesty. Jeez.
Have some
Ivy has
modesty.
Ivy is Brian's cat. Once again, desperately wants to become a cam girl.
Yeah.
And jumps on Brian.
She does have an OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Yes, she does.
Booty hole
But
straight up
I
at
keep
the
the money
camera.
from it. Yeah.
I also wrote down, why was the ecstasy a surprise? That was a weird moment of like, oh, we have a treat for you.
Yeah.
Surprise. Like, I don't know. If you're in a group of friends, wouldn't you have that conversation of like, the ecstasy became such a big thing. Oh, have you
Yeah.
heard the story of the night that like that whole, it was weird. That whole moment around the ecstasy, it was like such a
Agreed.
big deal.
Because they clearly have experience with ecstasy, so it's like, why is it?
Right.
A big deal.
Why did it need to
'Cause
be a
we've done this
surprise?
before.
And like, yeah.
We've probably all gotten high together before.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple more things about the plot. I also, going off of the ecstasy, I wrote, she's going to do Molly alone. Who does that? Not her. It did not seem like a character choice that this character would make with everything else that we've set up about her.
Yeah. I also, with the ecstasy thing, when she was like, all right, you three are going to do it, but you better do it again tomorrow. I'm like, look, no one's going to do it again tomorrow.
No,
like,
we all know.
who,
that.
like
Yeah.
no one in their right mind is going to be like, oh yeah, they're totally going to get high with me again tomorrow.
That's actually, I know a lot of people who do stuff like that multiple nights in a row, but
Sure,
they're club
but-
rats
but-
that are,
but, like,
they're not these people who are enjoying their
For most
vacation.
mid to late 30-year-olds, they're not going to do that twice,
Right.
2 nights in a row in an Airbnb that they probably paid $400 a night in.
No, more than that. This is like a
Oh,
Sure.
way more than that.
Whatever.
$1,500
I'm just-
a
sure.
night
Yeah.
place.
Sure.
Then also when they first discover the cameras, and they're talking about the owner, and he says to Mina, I keep saying he, but what was his name? So Josh is the baby brother, and then the older brother
Charlie.
is
Scott.
Charlie. Yeah, Charlie. Did you just make
Who's
up a white
Scott?
name?
Yeah. Because there's a big difference between Charlie and Scott. I could have said Tyler and y'all would have been like, oh yeah.
Are they both British names, Charlie and Scott? Anyways, no, but when Charlie says to Mina, like, the owner is the only one who's ever gonna see this, and she's like, okay, right. It's like, what? No. Why do you automatically think that that's true? This is, you just
And
boinged
even if
in
it is,
the
that's not
shower.
okay
Like,
still.
they're not gonna
Like,
put that
this
on
might
some
be-
website
This might be a
somewhere.
Twitch live stream right now. Like millions of people might have just saw this.
100%.
Even if the owner is the only one that sees it, that's still not okay.
Yeah. Like
That's still not.
So I don't know if we hit this yet, but to the listeners out there, the reason they don't want to leave is because they want to get that video back somehow.
Right.
I don't know how. And then the stupidest thing in the world, they say like, there's all these cameras, and so wait, we didn't even talk about like the murder at all.
Oh, of the landlord.
Like Taylor
Which
being
one?
murdered.
Taylor?
Of the landlord.
Yeah, the
Oh,
landlord.
his name's Taylor. Got
Yeah.
it. Yes. I'm like,
Okay.
Wait, are you just talking about are you just spouting another generic white name? Yeah.
So Taylor, the landlord, comes back and he fixes the hot tub because Allison Brie's character, Michelle, calls him because she is high and wants to get in a hot tub. So he comes back, and then that's when Mina is confronting him in the bathroom about the camera. And then Jeremy's his real name.
Jeremy's the
his real
actor,
name is
yeah.
Jeremy White. Just let that sink in a little bit.
Okay.
So Josh then like proceeds to just beat the crap out of him. Like
Well,
in the
because
tub.
he thought that Taylor was attacking Mina. It's not like he just hit him unprovoked.
Sure. But
But
he
yeah.
still pummels him into like
Right.
Yes.
He pummels him, and then a while, 5 minutes later, he's in the room with Mina, and he's like, "What's wrong with me?" Or it's after they actually throw him down the cliff, which I have. What the fuck were they trying to do with the rock One, or
They were
he
trying
keeps
to
throwing these.
use
Charlie
the
keeps
rock
throwing these
yeah.
rocks to like get him off. But also, there was no moment. They carry the guy outside to throw him off of the cliff, and there's no moment where any of them are like they put him down. They look over the cliff. Okay, how are we gonna do this? We have to swing this much distance. Anything. There's not even a count of 1, 2, 3. They literally just rush over and chuck him. Which was like such a weird thing
And then
to
he
me.
and then he lands on the rocks, and they're like, "Oh crap!"
So
like
then
he didn't
Charlie
fall in the
just
water.
starts picking up big rocks and
So
chucking
let's
them
smash
away.
him
Yeah.
with some rocks. And I'm like,
Although-
I don't know what they're trying to do here. Because then he climbs down and then pushes him into the water.
Right. And when he's climbing down, he's like, they're trying to tell him not to. And I'm saying I mean baby brother, Josh. And he's saying, I have no choice. I don't want to spend the rest of my life in jail. And Mina says, it's not worth it. You're like, what? It's not worth it? The man is already dead. He's laying on this rock. You have to get down there and get him off of it. It's not worth it? He's going to jail for life and you may be going with him. It's not worth it? Like, I was like, what a weird fucking line there. And then...
Yeah. So then the movie turns into this, like, they're trying to find where the video is. Because now not only is there footage of the two people having sex, which the other two people still don't know about, but there's now footage of Josh killing this man, essentially.
Right.
And that's what they're trying to recover so that there's no evidence or whatever.
Yes.
And this, in my opinion, is one of the stupidest things because they're like, there's one line in there where Josh says, the
Yeah.
receiver must be around here somewhere. And I'm like, what receiver? Is this video being sent over radio frequency? Like, what? How do cameras work in this world? Like, I don't understand. What receiver, like, when you say that, like, what is he looking for? A VCR receiver? Like, I don't know what they were looking for.
Assumed.
A server? Like, they're looking for a server room? They're looking for what?
I
External
don't-
hard
Yeah.
drive that's
know.
wirelessly connected to this camera? I'm like, what are they looking for?
Well,
And why don't they just take the camera off and then see where the wires go if there's wires? If there's not, then it's self-contained within this camera and then just take the camera.
Well, they were looking for where it recorded to, right? They're looking for some tape
They're
deck.
looking for a receiver. We don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this is 2020. It's in the cloud, y'all. Like, it's gone. Like, this video, like,
I didn't even think about that. You're so
Yeah.
right.
I'm like, I don't understand what they're looking for.
Yeah.
It's in that dude's iCloud right now.
Yeah,
Like,
or already posted on
Yeah,
a website
yeah,
somewhere.
it's on
Wanna see a
4chan.
dude
Yeah,
kill a
like-
dude. Or on the streaming platform you were talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Disney
then-
Plus, yeah.
It's on Hulu.
you know, Disney-owned Hulu.
It's on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Um,
That's why they put in the adult filters.
Did you just turn me down because I started
No, I turned
squawking?
me down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and then the other thing right after that, or like during that whole moment where they're on the rock throwing the man off of, or they're on the cliff throwing the man off of the cliff. Allison Brie is meanwhile watching this video, and she doesn't have even a moment where she's like, how the fuck did this thing get into this room and on this TV? Is there someone here? What is this? How did I see this? None of that. She's just like, oh, fuck him, and gets in her car and drives off. But there's no actual moment of like, how is this here? Who put this here? I'm terrified for my life now. She actually packs bags. And like, okay, maybe I could go with that. She's so caught up in the moment. But I don't know. It felt kind of unbelievable to me. And then she drives off. And when she realizes that she's run over this thing, and then
Spike strip.
What?
A spike strip.
Thank you, a spike strip. And then she has that moment of like, why would a spike strip be out here? This is creepy. And decides to get back in the car instead of picking up the phone and calling because it's an emergency. She sends a text, which was also like,
Well,
what?
it's 2020. No one wants to be on the phone.
Like,
You know,
yeah.
if
Even
you
in
call me when
those
this could have been a
moments.
text, I'm gonna be mad.
But
Fucking idiots.
My bigger thing was like,
That's a good point.
I mean, You could still drive the car. Like, if it's do or die, I'm driving that car with flat tires.
Right.
Like, it's a
Yeah.
big SUV with like a V8 engine. Like, it's gonna go somewhere.
Right.
And on top of it, you're not on like cement, so like it's not like there's gonna be sparks flying or anything. Like, I'm driving it as if I gotta go 10 miles an hour, I'm going 10 miles an hour. I'm gonna get out of here. It didn't seem like it was that far tucked away from like the main highway.
Right.
Like, yes, the house is semi isolated,
I
but
think
it's
we've
still on
just
the coast. It
established that
didn't
they're all
seem that
idiots.
far away from PCH.
From
me,
PCH,
at least.
yes, but who knows where the next
Sure.
house is on PCH? Because I
Sure.
actually thought they did a good job establishing that this was pretty much in the middle of nowhere from the very first shots of the film, which again goes back to why I was then upset that he's in clearly a downtown apartment killing people later.
If the landlords, if Taylor's house is not that far away, there must be other houses.
That's not necessarily true. You build two houses on a several acre property,
Sure,
40-acre
I
property.
guess. Yeah. My point being, I don't understand why she just didn't keep driving.
Right.
But I will say that to play devil's advocate to your assumption that she like is trying to figure things out, she already wants to leave. She doesn't want anything to do with this. She wanted to call the cops already.
That's
so
true.
this was
That's
just like
true.
the cherry on
Icing
top. It was
on
like,
the
yeah,
cake,
no,
I
like
get
I'm
that.
out.
No, I get that.
Y'all could like do your whole murder thing. I'm gonna go to the police station right now.
Good job, Devil. You advocated.
I really wanted her to survive. She was the
Did
only one
you?
that I wanted
Did
to
you?
survive.
Let's talk about acting.
Okay, sure,
Yeah.
great.
Let's do it.
I'm more so talking from character. I was not talking about acting. She was just the most innocent of all of them.
Yeah,
so
of course.
maybe I'm falling back on the horror trope of like the most innocent one should survive.
Right.
But sure, yeah, acting. I didn't think anyone was great other than Taylor. I really love Taylor.
I thought Taylor was great. I also loved Mina. Who is the actor that played Taylor? Because he's been in a bunch of stuff, little stuff, over time. And
Toby Huss.
I have always really enjoyed him. He's so grounded.
Yeah.
He's so
Yeah,
grounded.
it
And I
really-
actually felt the same way about the actress that played Mina, Sheila Vand, that she was the most grounded of
See,
all of them.
I felt, and I like, I mean, everyone is dealing with the same script, but I feel like it wasn't her, it was the script, but like she didn't rise above the crappy script to me. And that's why I didn't feel that grounded with her. I think it's just like the heavy handedness of the racism that was just like, this person is like acting like this megaphone for what they're trying to say and not acting as a human. But I think that's a script issue.
Yeah.
It like handicapped her really badly.
I would agree with that 100%. I think there were moments from her that I really liked. But yeah, I would agree that some of those heavy-handed scenes kind of took away from my overall impression of her in the movie. So the acting I thought was okay overall. I thought Alison Brie had some moments that I thought were good. The guy who plays Charlie, Dan Stevens, I've seen him in other things.
He looks. Who's the actor that looks like that plays Captain America? Chris
Evans.
Chris
He looks
Evans
like Chris
and
Evans
Dan
here?
Stevens look so similar to me.
I
Is
might
that
disagree.
I might strongly disagree.
What?
Um
I pulled these two up last night when I had that thought and was like, "Yep."
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
He,
all by yourself in your living room. Yep,
Pretty-
I was
yeah.
right.
I didn't
Yeah.
think he was great.
Listeners,
in
let us know
this.
if you. I'm gonna post the two next to each other.
Yeah.
And
And see what people think.
it's specifically this picture. He's got there's some thing.
It's his IMDb pick.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at now.
I'm looking at the same picture and I'm like, I don't.
All right. Maybe
Yeah,
it's
I
just
don't
me.
know.
Hey, maybe
he
maybe
was
Brian
He's got
and I
an
are wrong.
essence to
Maybe
him.
Brian and I are wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, not likely.
Anyways,
He
you were
was-
saying about Dan
Yeah,
Stevens.
he was in this show that I watched a couple seasons of called Legion.
Downton Abbey.
Um,
Oh.
No, I never watched Down. Legion was like an FX show that I think took place in the Marvel universe, but he was a lot better in that than he was in this. And then Jeremy Allen White, who played Josh, was on the show Shameless. That I loved. Shameless. I loved Shameless.
I really liked Jeremy Allen White in this.
He does that role well, like the troubled, like angry white guy.
Yeah, the problem for me was that he was so his character's name was Lip, like Philip, but Lip in Shameless, and he basically it felt like Lip to me, which part of that was just the way the role is, but part of that I think was just also the way he played the characters, and maybe part of it is just because I watched him for 8 or 9 seasons as this one character, so it's sometimes hard to separate the person from that character after that much time. But I just felt like I was watching Lip, essentially, in this movie, which I didn't think necessarily was a good thing.
Yeah.
Even though I love him in Shameless as Lip.
I get that.
Yeah.
There were a couple standout moments for me, or scenes with some of the actors that I specifically just thought were played really well and really authentic. The first one being the scene between Jeremy Allen White and Sheila Vand before they've even gone on the trip, where they're in bed together and she's popping his zits. It felt that felt so natural to me. It didn't feel forced at all. It felt like I've been both parties in that scene. I liked that setup, because it was like, oh, they are close, they are intimate, there is love here, this is real, which we need to know.
Were you questioning that before?
What?
Were you questioning that before the zip popping?
There wasn't. That was, I think that's like the first scene
Yeah,
of the two
yeah.
of them in it.
Okay.
No, but I'm saying I would question that later with the whole plot about her cheating on him, et cetera, et cetera. So it was a really nice establishing scene for the two of them. And then I also thought that the scene in the hot tub between Dan Stevens and Sheila Vand, I felt that chemistry like 100%. I actually felt their chemistry through the whole movie, and I thought that was a really beautiful scene. I did not feel Alison Brie's chemistry with Dan Stevens whatsoever, and she's an interesting actress to me, because I sort of I don't know. I don't ever like her, and I also really like her. If that like I can't. And then watching her in this movie, I went, you know what I think she does really well? She's a very self-contained actress. And whenever she has a scene on her own, and I especially, I don't know if either of you watched Glow, but she has a lot of speeches in Glow. She has a lot of moments where she's going on some diatribe. She's really great at that, because I think she makes very, very strong choices. Glow. I'm guessing that's why she first started getting cast in things, because she makes strong choices, and I understand the full character of who this person is. But I don't know if she's a very giving scene partner. You know, I was watching this and going, I think she's kind of self-contained. And so she's made the choices, and she comes in with these choices, and she does her thing. But if the other person is not necessarily responding to that thing, she should change a little bit, but she doesn't. And so that there's it always sort of works, because she always sort of plays the same characters, right? The first thing that she was ever on that she got known for was Mad Men, and she's kind of the pissed off wife.
She's from Community.
Community? She
With
was
Chevy
in
Chase?
Community too?
Yeah.
Oh, but
That was
she
her big break.
Was that before Mad Men?
I'm pretty sure it was like 2009, no?
Wasn't Mad Men like 2000?
Yeah.
I just feel like
I didn't ever watch Community, so maybe you're correct on that. So the first thing
I'm not
I'll
sure about the timeline of that.
rephrase by saying the first thing I
she's
saw
not
her
even
break
known
out
for
on.
that on IMDb. She's not even known for Mad Men.
Oh, weird. Because that was like the first thing I recognized
She
her in.
was in Mad Men, right?
Yeah, she plays the wife
Ooh,
of
snap.
the Weasley character that knocks up.
Ron. yeah, Brian got my joke.
Yeah.
Woo!
Ron Weasley. Good Harry
Anyways,
Potter joke.
Potterheads out there would just laughed.
What heads
Yeah.
out there?
Potterheads.
Oh, Harry Potter, Ron Weasley. Oh yeah, no, definitely I would not have gotten that joke. That's not a me thing.
Not potheads, Potterheads. So I have a couple thoughts in regards to what you were saying about Alison Brie. My first thought is I'm not entirely sure that she was the right person for that role, and I think
But
maybe
she's
in
married
part,
to the director.
well, so that's like a second part of my thought process. But like the first like is I think maybe because of what you're saying, how she is a very self-contained actor, and I think that's not what this role necessarily needed. But then here's my other question in terms of her lack of chemistry with her partner, her husband in this movie. I have no idea the answer to this question, but so this is mostly for you, Kai, as an actor, and I don't know if you've ever been in this situation before, but could it impact her chemistry to supposed to be intimate with someone on screen when your real life husband is standing 15 feet away directing you? Like I know you're acting, but like you're still human. Like I feel like that would be
I'm not sure if I'm the right person to ask as an actor. I think that's just a anybody human question. I'm sure that would
yeah.
create especially if you're at all the type of actor that uses your own life stuff, and maybe she's putting her own moments with her own husband onto this actor across from her, but then that real person is in the room with her. So that could totally be. And
I knew
also
you
just
slept with her,
wanna-
Dave. I mean,
Right,
Jeremy.
right.
I mean, Josh.
I also want to just call myself out by saying she got the role because her husband's a director, because that is
No,
not at all.
No,
know,
I mean,
true.
she's a very qualified
yes,
actress, but I
yes.
mean, like, you can't overlook. I mean,
Sure.
sure. Like, I mean, I think people can
Nepotism.
be creative.
She's qualified, but she still got the role because
Yeah,
her
yeah,
husband
yeah.
directed it.
and I,
Both can be
and-
true.
Right.
and-
Correct.
and I don't
just
think there's
wanted
any
to
shame in
clarify that
that.
I wasn't making
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
I mean, if you ended up like marrying a director and he wanted to put you in every movie, I'm sure you would be like, oh yeah,
Of
I'll be in
course.
every director.
I've been looking. Directors, if you're out there and you're worth your salt, please give me a call at. No, I'm not. I'm not actually. 555.
555.
Yeah.
Anyway, do we have any final notes on acting before we jump to our last category?
I think the dog was the best actor
was
in the
great.
movie.
Reggie.
Yeah.
I was really thinking that, especially when he comes in at the end and the killer's
Well,
in there.
I did have a thought of my first thought was that guy better not fucking kill that
Ugh.
dog or I will kill him. My second thought was the dog just walks out of the house. What happens to Reggie? The killer definitely did not pick him up and feed him or anything. Like what happened to Reggie?
So I think you bring up a good point that I feel like I've been harsh on the film, and this has nothing to do with acting or like going into technical, but I did appreciate that there were some horror tropes that they subverted or like they subverted our expectation for it. I was watching it and I'm like, oh, the dog's gonna die like within like 5 minutes, 10 minutes of them being there, because that's just like how these movies are supposed to
Right.
go. Same thing with like the
Sure.
last girl. Like when you have the last girl and I'm like, oh, she's gonna be the last girl. And like she's gonna get out and she's gonna survive, and then she runs off the damn cliff,
Sure.
and I'm like, oh shoot, kudos
Yeah.
for that. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like that. It takes balls to like break the tropes that are tried and true and like work in film.
I also thought that was the best death.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the fact that they didn't show the body though
liked-
too.
I
I
liked
was like,
when-
oh, is she still there? Is she hanging onto the?
I had
Is she
that
hanging
same
on to
thought
like the side of the
too.
cliff, and then she's gonna
Yeah.
climb back up?
You'll find out in the sequel.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good transition.
The
into,
rental VRBO.
Yeah. Rent, Trulia. We just start switching it to places people
What's
actually
Trulia?
rent to start living in. Oh, it's a like to rent apartments. Like
Oh,
app.
but it's Rent, so there's singing in it too. It's a
Right.
singing horror.
Yeah, correct. No, that felt
Yes.
like a good place to transition into technical, because
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about how much I loved the fog. I loved me some fog in this movie. I loved it so much.
Speaking of fog, great
Technical.
segue into our next category, which is technical. Thank you, Brian. This could include everything from production design to costume design to cinematography to score to
Everything.
anything else. Editing. Sorry. I was like, what? There's
Or
something else.
makeup.
So kick it off with fog, Kai.
I really liked the fog. I think that was my only comment about that. No, overall, I thought this movie was beautiful. In the lighting, in the way that it was shot, and the fact that they embraced the northwesty, foggy spirit. Brian has something else to say about that, though, I can see.
I had issues with the lighting. So I agree that overall, I thought it looked nice. I thought it was filmed well. I didn't have any issues with the fog. I felt like this movie was so fucking dark that there were scenes outside that I could not tell what was happening.
Interesting.
And like, I don't think it's my TV because I've watched a million things on this TV and not really had issues. I just felt like some of the scenes were unbelievably dark. Like they could have used a little bit more light in them, that it made it hard to follow what was happening sometimes for me.
I didn't feel that.
I agree with you, Brian. I had that same thought, but I don't think it ever impeded me knowing what was happening. Like I don't think there was ever a sequence where I was like, I can't really make out what's happening. But I did think at times like, oh, I can't really see like, well, especially when Allison Brie is after she runs over the spike strip and she's like in the middle of the forest and it's like really dark. I'm like, there's no light here. There's like nothing. And I felt like it was really dark.
Yeah.
And
I
then
felt like
also
there were
when
a number of scenes like that.
Yeah, when Mina's running through the forest too.
I liked how dark it was, though, because it put me in it.
See, I wasn't. I guess this is another thing. Like, what was the point of this film? Was it to scare you or not? But like, I guess I never felt scared in the film. So like, did you feel like? Did it get your blood racing a little bit, Kai?
That's for the most part, I'm going to have to agree with no. There were a couple moments, but more so when I watched it the first time around. This time around, not so much. The one moment that I liked that I thought was cool was when Allison Brie is in the car and she picks up her phone to text, not call, and the killer creepy guy just runs at the that part freaked me out. And the darkness, the darkness, the heavy breathing and the fog in the woods, and you can't see anything because I camp a lot. I'm an avid like hiker and backpacker. So also directors who backpack and hike that want to cast me and fall in love with me, that's another. But no, and when you're out in the middle of the woods like that, and especially up near the coast, and it does get so foggy where you cannot see in front of you. And so I appreciated that they really went with that in the movie. Because I've seen other movies who like they don't embrace the elements of what they're in a way that could actually add value to the fear of the film. And I thought this did.
It made me curious to think if the fog was them pumping like a really large fog machine, or if it was like the benefit of just actually shooting up there. And I feel like unless
it was pumped in fog,
or a little of both.
I agree, just because you would want to control something like that.
Filmed this in Oregon. I'm pretty sure I read that they filmed this somewhere in Oregon.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Let me double check, but I'm pretty
Oregon
sure
coast
about that.
is insanely
Does
foggy.
it still get really foggy?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're on the coast up there, yeah. Same thing.
Bandon, Oregon.
See, so it was really far.
They even give you the address: Seawinds Estate, 88515 Pacific Surf Lane, Brandon, Oregon.
Great.
I'm gonna Google
I'm gonna
that.
go stay there.
So Pacific Coast Highway turns into Pacific Surf Lane when you get into Oregon.
No, it's still Pacific Coast
Oh,
Highway, but
got
you
it.
must have to take an exit off to Pacific
Just guessing.
Coast Lane. No, the Pacific Coast runs the entire length of West Coast. I mean,
Kai,
you know
it was a
that,
bad
right?
joke. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
I just wanted to make sure.
Kai, can you stop mansplaining to me, please?
It's when women do it, it's just
Explaining.
Explaining. Yeah, exactly. Did you just mansplain me trying to explain that? Oh my god. Love it.
Good, bad, bad, good. Mansplaining. Sticking with cinematography though, or well, fog and lighting, because it's all like encompassing with cinematography. I had an issue with the style in which they were. I wanted so much more voyeuristic angles. Like they used them like 2 or 3 times. I feel like
Twice, I think. And the one time they have like heavy breathing in the background, which I could barely tell was heavy breathing because you're also hearing the waves crash to the shore. And I was like, is this a man's breathing? Or are these really heavy waves? Like, what is that? That bothered me.
That correct me if I'm wrong. Was that when they were in the? That was when they were in the hot tub, right?
Yes, when Allison Brie is, or no, she's not there. When Sheila Vand is getting out of the hot tub. Yes.
Yeah. I wanted more voyeuristic style, but not necessarily POVs. Like I don't need to hear someone breathing or like anything like that.
Right.
But like having that like wide, alienating like shot of some where you're like guessing like, is this someone watching it?
Or are we just
am
in a
I
wide?
partaking
Yeah.
in the voyeuristic nature
Yeah.
of this? Like that's so much more unsettling than like
Right, I totally.
it's like, okay, this is like some
That also feels like a ripoff of Halloween. Like that's a very Michael Myers thing to hear him breathing in the mask.
Oh,
Right,
because
and
he's
what
wearing a
was
mask.
with the mask? I
Yeah.
did not like that mask.
It was
Interesting.
weird, but I guess it's because, in case somebody sees him.
No, yeah,
You know.
I get that. I mean,
Is that
obviously.
why? Is that why he was wearing a mask?
Well, maybe he's got a fetish. I don't know. I mean, obviously he's got some fetishes.
I actually appreciated the mask because halfway through, like, after a few scenes of actually seeing him, because not halfway through the film, but I'm like, is this a mask? I can't tell if it's a mask.
I
At
or
first,
it
I
was a
couldn't
mask
tell.
Right
Thank you, Brian.
away.
Thank you, Brian.
At first, I wasn't sure.
This was my second time seeing it too,
Yes.
so I guess I should.
It wasn't until I saw the eye holes, then I'm like, oh, it's a mask. But like when you see it from far away,
Or until that moment where he's staring at himself in the mirror before he takes off the mask.
Wow,
It's
yeah.
so long. That shot is so long. I'm like,
oh, I don't know if I saw that. I think maybe if it was too long, my eyes were already rolling back, so I didn't see the whole
she
shot.
didn't catch it.
I got to go back to the plot real quick, just for like a split second. One thing that really I know, I'm sorry. I thought about this when we were talking about the plot, and then we changed the topics. But one thing that really I hate about horror movies in general, when the bad guy basically gets shanked through the face with a knife or whatever
And
it is,
then keeps
and just
going.
pulls it out and keeps going.
Yep.
Like, come on, man, you're not superhuman. I hate that. That's in like almost every horror movie, I feel like, and it just pisses me off.
I was in a
maybe
really, really,
everyone's
really bad.
maybe the person is like opening their mouth at that moment, and like it just goes through.
Yeah,
cheek.
right. Just
Does
That
it
would still
hit
fucking
anything?
hurt. That would still fucking hurt,
right,
man.
True.
Right, and you'd
It
be
probably would nick your
bleeding
tongue.
inside of your mask.
Yeah, it would probably hit your tongue. It could hit a tooth. Like, come on, man.
I was in a
Come
really terrible horror movie
Ooh,
called X-Men
Oh, can we?
2.
yes.
Can we watch this for the podcast?
It's I mean, sure, but it knows what it is. It's like a campy
It's
horror movie.
It's a good.
with
well, no, it's a
WWE
good bad movie.
It's a
wrestlers.
good movie, Brian.
No,
But
it's
it's
not.
really a good bad movie.
It's but my point to that being, this was like one of the first. This
see the poster.
yeah, it's terrible. But this is
Look-
like
I
the
wanna see
first
this.
movie.
Look it up
that-
right now, Brian.
Oh my
It's
God,
on IMDb.
Can I finish my fucking sentence? Yeah.
Wait,
look-
what's it called?
just
Axeman
look up
2,
Kai's
Overkill.
look up Kai's IMDb and then
Oh yeah, true.
because
wait, but-
just bump her up in popularity.
Yeah, there you go. But to my point, the director, we shot all this stuff. He gave me a patch when we first start. No, like halfway through us shooting, he gives me this patch and he puts it on he has the makeup girl put it on my cheek. And he's like, at some point, like the Axeman is gonna like bite your cheek, right? But he does this.
Oh
he
my
like
God.
decided to do this halfway through, right? And so I had been acting in the movie, like, okay, I'm not explaining. Let me start over.
You're doing great, Kai.
No, please cut this part out. And then now I'm going to tell it. So I'm in this movie and I play this character and I get bit by the Axeman in the cheek. But I didn't know what the bite looked like. I didn't know that he just told me, oh yeah, he bites you on the cheek. And like in the script, it's not described in any detail. I now know I have to ask and find out if I'm injured in anything. I need to know what this injury looks like because we didn't end up shooting the moment of the bite until my very last scene. And then they did the special effects makeup on it. It's like my whole cheek is missing. Yet he just puts this like bandage over it. Had I known that my whole cheek was missing, I would have been acting like
I would have been
that
acting
from the,
like my cheek was
beacon,
missing.
Right. But I
Exactly,
was
like,
just
you're
wearing
fine.
this like bandage on it. So I'm like, oh, okay, he just bit my cheek. So it's sore, it's whatever, but
Yeah.
it's not like this gushing thing, which they ended up making it because the director was like, yeah, that looks cool. Add some more. And like, it's so bad. But so
Can we
those-
have the blood just squirting out every
Right.
time she talks?
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
projectile blood.
Exactly. Anyways, so
Did you see the poster,
so
Brian?
those things happen.
Yes, it's fantastic.
Kai and I were working together when she got this role. I was still also trying to be an actor before I gave up on my dreams. But we were working together, and Kai came in to where we worked and told me that she got this role, and I was like through the moon excited for her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Kai's like,
She's gonna make it.
she's doing it. Like she's doing it.
I got my first role in a feature. I was going up to shoot
I
it
was-
on location for a week. It was
I
exciting.
legitimately was like, Kai is like not even gonna work here anymore, and like she, she's doing it, and like it's only up from here. And hey, maybe I could get the promotion and take her role. Like
Yeah.
but then Kai was like, it's not that big of a deal. Like even like when you got the role, you were like, it's not that big of a deal. It's axe,
Was
killer,
I?
murder.
Yeah,
No, you were
number-
like, I was so confused why you were so calm, and I'm like, Kai, you're like gonna win an Oscar in 2 years. Like that's the trajectory you're on. And Kai was very much like, it's yeah. They showed me the poster before we were even shooting, and I just don't really like the poster.
Yeah, I knew what I was going into to an extent, right? But I was still also very excited that like it was like acting camp. I got to stay
Yeah.
in the woods with these actors and these
Acting
people
camp?
for
That's
like
great.
5 days and shoot this film, and like it was a fucking blast, It was this
That's cool.
B-rated, campy,
Yeah.
ridiculous horror film.
I also think back then I was ignorant on like feature film spectrum of like there are feature films that are made for $50,000,
Right.
and there
Oh,
are like
I think the
and, like-
budget of this was like $20,000.
and
It was like
and like the indies that we see like that make a splash, like Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind is like an indie film, but it's like a $7 million budget. Like
right.
The important question of the night is, where can I watch this movie?
I don't know if you want to.
Oh, I do.
No, I don't know. I'm sure it's on.
it's probably on Prime. It's
I
probably
bet
on
you it's on
Tubi.
Prime. Yeah.
Oh, that's where I watched the
Motherless
Motherless Brooklyn was on
Well, also,
Tubi.
I came in this. I'm in Axeman 2 because
Yes.
the girl. But I play.
She's
somebody,
essentially Nev Campbell at this point.
No. But I play somebody who is in Axeman 1 because originally when I was cast for it, I had a specific haircut. And then, or when the director was thinking about casting me for it, I had a specific haircut, but I hadn't heard from him for like months. And then I did this short film that I shaved my head in. So then when he called me back to cast me, my head was shaved, but he still thought I looked enough like the girl in the last movie. He thought I really looked like her with my long haired haircut. But then like the second movie picks up right where the first movie.
Oh shit.
So then my head's just shaved. We didn't do a wig, nothing. And it's clear that I'm not this same actress, but I'm
Yeah.
just playing her. Oh, it's
I
Oh my
see
gosh,
there's
Brian!
Axeman.
Did you look at the pictures for Axeman 2? The
Okay.
first
No, I
picture.
will.
Stop talking about this. We're still on technical. Can we move
The
on?
the first
Oh,
picture
look
on
at
the
Kai with her
IMDb
cheek
is
I've done
fucked
some
up.
bad stuff, everyone.
Yeah, look at that.
Wait, what?
Yeah, your cheek is.
That's
yeah,
the
that's
first
what I'm looking
picture
at
on
now.
IMDb.
Yes, I love it. Well, also,
We
I'm
will be
totally,
posting this
I'm
on our
totally
social.
overacting in it, and the director kept being like, "Yes, yes, just go for it," and I was like, "Yeah," getting all pumped up. And then I watched scenes later, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is so bad."
Oh yeah,
So
there's
I
you with your
have.
cheek all fucked
Do you
up.
hear all my experience for why I should talk about acting and actors? Oh Lord.
Hey, I'm looking at your
Lord.
IMDb credits right now. I didn't realize you'd been in this many things. I'm impressed. I just had
Oh,
no
thanks,
idea.
Brian.
Yeah.
You know, one line here, one line there.
Hey, you're still doing it.
I'm still doing it.
The last thing you're on was General Hospital, right?
I'm still doing it. No, I just shot a scene. As
12
The last
months,
thing that
I
is
see.
premiered. I mean, like that was on TV.
That was there will be something coming up on TV that I just shot for a
Oh,
show called
shit.
A Deeper Look, but yes, but General
what's
Hospital.
up.
I did
Yeah.
a scene in
Kai, for all the listeners out there, Kai is currently my mom's favorite actress because she was
She's-
recently on General Hospital.
and Travis's mom is old school General Hospital fan.
Yeah, she's been watching since like 1960. Well, no,
Wow,
that's not
what?
true because like she would be like 0, but since the 60s she has been watching it since she was little.
Okay,
All right.
Yeah.
Let's move off the
Yeah.
tangent of Kai acting because it's making me feel uncomfortable.
Any other technical questions? I feel like this was a very it was competently made, I guess.
Yeah, that's why I said this was a bad good movie because I felt like I said before, I felt like the acting was so good moments, some not good moments, but the technical stuff I felt like overall was pretty good. The one thing I was going to ask, I didn't write any notes about the score, which is not common for me. Usually I have some notes about it, but I don't remember anything about the score for this movie.
Same.
It's not heavy. I liked
Yeah.
the score for this because it's not heavy. It gets a little like slashery film dun dun when the woods moments are happening.
Right,
But I
yeah.
appreciated how underscored this score was.
Nice.
Yeah. I also wanted to say I loved the title cards and the credit sequence. The title card, there's like the double exposure shot of them driving through the woods and the woods over it, and then the rental comes up. Loved that. And then I loved the credits coming in at the end when we're seeing
Over the video.
Yeah.
Hmm. Oh yeah, agreed.
I actually really liked that like epilogue of him going to I know you like tore it apart
No,
for
no,
like
no. I appreciate
I
the
tore it apart.
I
No, Kai did
appreci-
too.
No, but I
'Cause
appreciate
she's in
the
the city.
idea of it. I really appreciate the idea of it. And
No,
the, like,
I thought that was so much more effective than anything else in the whole film.
yeah.
I'm like, it's so
Well, I don't know.
creepy, like having the voyeuristic like element to it.
Yeah.
And then when he just comes out of the closet and attacks the woman in the bed
Yeah.
in that old man mask, I'm telling you, think of nightmares right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that just about wraps up our today's discussion, our today's long discussion
Yeah.
of Axeman 3.
Shut up.
I mean, The Rental. Has anyone changed their mind?
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, agree. Like we are all in agreement that this was a bad, good movie.
Yeah. I'm sticking with it.
And I'm sticking with the fact that I was still entertained by this and I would watch it again,
I would not.
which is
would
not
not watch it again.
most of these movies. Okay. Well, I might.
For a third time? You'd watch this movie a third time?
Yeah, maybe a couple years from now, if like flicking
that's fair.
through things.
I think
Flicking
I would
through
rewatch
things.
all the movies that we've watched,
Absolutely not.
except The Bubble.
Absolutely not. I
I'm
would
not
never
sure
watch
that I would rewatch any of the movies we've watched.
Okay, well, thank you for tuning in for today's episode, and we hope that you come back for the next one. If you want to chat us up on social media, you could find us on all social media at goodbad_badgood. You could find me on all social media at travis.orozco, or maybe it's Travis_Orozco. I'm keeping that in. If you want to find Kai,
Just look me up on IMDb.
yeah, get that popularity up. And if you want to find Brian,
Gossip on the grams, Brian Ossip on the Twitters.
until next time, when we watch a movie that is about a leprechaun playing baseball.
I might watch
But their
that.
mitt is made of gold.
exactly.
at the end of the rainbow, the gold in the rainbow.
Okay.
I have to go now.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Good Bad Bad Good is an Ex Nihilo production. Original theme music and sound engineering done by Jen Star Hacker. Find her at hackersoundmusic.com. Opinions expressed are solely that of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views of any entity they represent.